Let me start by saying this wasn't how I imagined my life turning out. Not in a million years did I think I'd be standing outside what was supposed to be my vacation home, staring at a shiny new security gate and a glaring no trespassing sign, both installed by my own parents. But here I am, feeling like a stranger on land that technically belongs to me. It's surreal, infuriating, and heartbreaking all at once. To understand how I got here, though, you need to go back with me to the beginning. I'm Emma. I grew up thinking we were just your average middle-class family. My dad taught history at the local high school, always wearing his tweed jackets even when they were fraying at the elbows. He had this dry sense of humor that made students either love him or dread his class. My mom ran a small bookstore downtown, one of those cozy places where the smell of old paper mixed with fresh coffee from the tiny cafe in the corner. She worked hard, but she also dreamed big, too big sometimes. We weren't rich, but we weren't struggling either. Still, there was always this undercurrent of dissatisfaction, especially from Mom. We lived in a modest house on the edge of town. Our cars were secondhand, our vacations were camping trips instead of beachfront getaways, and our idea of luxury was ordering pizza on Friday nights. But every time we drove past the lakefront mansions, Mom would let out this wistful sigh. "Imagine living in one of those," she'd say, her voice tinged with longing. "A view of the water, dinner parties on the deck." Dad would mutter something about shallow people and new money, but I caught him looking too. There was something magnetic about those houses, something neither of them could resist. My grandmother, Rose, was different. She lived simply in her little cottage tucked away in the woods. Her days revolved around gardening, reading, and volunteering at the community center. Grandma Rose didn't care much for material things. "Money's just a tool, Emma," she'd tell me during our Sunday teas. "It's not the key to happiness." Those words became my anchor as I grew older. They stayed with me through thick and thin, even when everything else seemed to crumble around me. But my parents, they had this bad habit of living beyond their means. Loans for renovations, cars they couldn't afford, fancy gadgets, they chased appearances like it was some kind of race. And whenever Mom bought something new, she'd ask me not to mention it to Grandma. Of course, Grandma always knew anyway. One afternoon over tea, she shook her head and said, "Your mother's chasing rainbows, Emma. True wealth isn't about what you own. It's about what you build." When I got into State University on a partial scholarship, Grandma was thrilled. My parents? Not so much. "State," Mom sneered. "Jennifer's daughter got into Princeton." That night, their argument about money echoed through the house. The next day, Grandma called me over. Sitting in her favorite armchair, she handed me a thick envelope. Inside were documents for a trust worth $800,000. "I've been investing for decades," she explained. "This is for you, Emma. Use it wisely. And don't tell your parents, they wouldn't understand." I promised her I'd honor her wishes. Through college, early jobs, and the start of my career, I lived modestly, letting the trust grow. Grandma passed during my senior year, and her lessons stayed with me. Meanwhile, my parents spiraled deeper into financial trouble. The bookstore barely scraped by, and Dad's salary wasn't enough to support their lifestyle. Arguments about money became routine, but nothing prepared me for the conversation last summer. Over Sunday dinner, Mom gushed about their friends' new vacation homes. "The Hendersons' place has a private dock and a guest house," she sighed. Then she turned to me, her eyes lighting up with that familiar look. "Emma, sweetie, you're doing so well. And that inheritance, it's just sitting there, isn't it?" "I'm investing it," I said carefully. "But imagine what we could do with it," she exclaimed. "There's this gorgeous lake house, 4 bedrooms, private beach. The asking price is a steal." Dad chimed in. "It could be a family home, something we all enjoy. Your grandmother would want that, right?" Against my better judgment, I let them wear me down. They promised to handle the maintenance and taxes, insisting it would bring the family together. So reluctantly I agreed. The trust covered the entire $800,000 price, and the house was titled in all our names, for tax purposes, they said. For a while it felt worth it. I helped decorate, planted flowers on the deck, and even felt a fleeting sense of belonging. But cracks appeared quickly. During their first dinner party, Mom dismissed me outright. "Emma, dear, this is an event for our social circle. Why don't you visit another time?" Over the next few months, I was always unwelcome. There were guests, they needed privacy, or they were settling in. Then came the gate, the sign, and finally a text. Emma, we've decided it's best if you give us space to enjoy the vacation home. We'll let you know when it's a good time to visit. Standing in front of that gate, something inside me broke. Grandma's voice echoed in my mind. Don't let anyone pressure you into spending it foolishly. I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer. That's where part 1 ends for now. It sets the stage for everything that follows. The betrayal, the fight, and ultimately the redemption. Stay tuned for part 2 where things take a darker turn, and I realized just how far my parents were willing to go to claim what wasn't theirs. Standing in front of that gate, something inside me broke. Grandma's voice echoed in my mind. Asterisk. Don't let anyone pressure you into spending it foolishly. Asterisk. I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer, Patricia Chen. She had helped settle Grandma Rose's estate years ago, and I knew she was sharp as a tack. If anyone could help me untangle this mess, it was her. Patricia's office looked exactly as I remembered, modern, minimalist, and somehow both welcoming and intimidating at the same time. She hadn't changed either. Sharp as ever in her tailored suit, her gray-streaked hair pulled back into an unyielding bun, she greeted me with a nod before diving straight into business. Let's see what we're dealing with, she said, motioning for me to hand over the documents. I slid them across her desk, my hands trembling slightly. As she scanned through the pages, her expression grew darker. Finally, she leaned back in her chair, her fingers drumming steadily on the polished wood. Let me get this straight, she said, her tone precise. You used your entire inheritance to buy a lake house, but your parents' names are also on the deed? I nodded, the weight of my mistake pressing down on me like a boulder. They said it was just to simplify the process. That we'd all share it. I trailed off, realizing how naive I must sound. Patricia's face remained neutral, but the steady rhythm of her fingers betrayed her irritation. And much did they say? She asked finally, swiveling her monitor toward me. Take a look. I leaned forward, squinting at the screen. My breath caught in my throat. My name wasn't there. The property was listed solely under David and Maureen Mitchell, my parents. That's not possible, I whispered. I was there when we signed the papers. My name was on them. Patricia nodded grimly. I reviewed the documents filed with the county recorder. The deed that was officially recorded only has your parents' names. The papers you signed, she paused, choosing her words carefully, were never submitted. The room seemed to close in around me. How could this happen? Patricia's voice softened slightly, though her resolve remained firm. Unfortunately, it's not uncommon. If someone knows how to manipulate the process, it's easy to swap documents after closing. It's fraud, plain and simple, but it's shockingly common in cases involving family trusts. The word trust hit me like a punch to the gut. I trusted them with my inheritance, with Grandma Rose's legacy, and they betrayed me in the most profound way. There's more, Patricia said, pulling up another file. Your parents took out a $200,000 home equity line of credit against the property. My stomach turned. What can we do? Patricia leaned back, her sharp eyes gleaming with determination. We fight back. I've already drafted paperwork for a civil suit. We'll file for an emergency injunction to block them from taking out more loans. Then pursue legal action to restore your name on the deed and recover damages. This is a strong case, Emma. Fraud this blatant is rare. I hesitated, guilt creeping in. But they're my parents. Patricia's voice softened further, but her resolve didn't waver. Emma, your grandmother set up that trust for you. She wanted you to have a secure future. What would she say if she saw this? I already knew the answer. I could practically hear Grandma Rose's voice in my ear. Asterisk, stand your ground, Emma. Don't let anyone take advantage of your kindness. Asterisk. When I left Patricia's office, I felt shaky but resolute. I decided to give my parents one last chance to explain. I called Mom first, but it went straight to voicemail. Then Dad, same result. Finally, I sent them both a text. Asterisk, we need to talk about the lake house. I know about the deed and the loan. Please call me. Asterisk. Hours passed with no response. Then around dinner my phone buzzed with a message from Mom. Asterisk. I don't know what you're talking about. The lake house is ours. We earned it. Stop causing drama. Asterisk. My hands trembled as I read her words. Earned it. All they'd done was criticize me, manipulate me, and exploit my inheritance. And then I saw the social media posts, photos of a party at their lake house captioned, asterisk, so blessed to have our dream vacation home. Making memories with dear friends in our private paradise. Asterisk. The comments stung even more. Asterisk, you deserve this. Hard work pays off. Beautiful home. So happy for you. Living the dream. Asterisk. I forwarded the post to Patricia. Her reply was swift. Asterisk, this is useful. Don't respond. Let them dig themselves deeper. Asterisk. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of legal filings and revelations. Patricia secured an injunction almost immediately, halting any further loans. My parents' reaction was explosive. Mom called first, shouting about betrayal. How could you do this to us? After everything we've sacrificed for you. Dad was subtler, his tone dripping with guilt. Princess, he said, using a nickname I hadn't heard in years. Let's fix this as a family. No need for lawyers. I didn't falter. You mean like you fixed the deed? Like you stole my inheritance? That's not fair, he stammered. We did what was best for the family. No, I said firmly. You did what was best for yourselves. Now you'll face the consequences. The evidence Patricia gathered was damning. Statements from the real estate agent, emails proving my ownership intent, and records exposing their extravagant spending. They used the equity line for parties, a boat, luxury furniture, and even a membership at an exclusive lake club that barred co-owners. But the final blow came when Mom posted a picture of her and Dad on the lake house deck, champagne glasses in hand with the caption, asterisk, sometimes you have to protect your peace and cut out negativity, even family. Some people just don't understand class. Asterisk hashtags. Hashtag bliss, hashtag lake house. I sent the post to Patricia, who replied, asterisk, this seals it. The judge will love this. Asterisk. That night, Mom texted me. Asterisk. Drop this lawsuit and we might consider letting you visit. Last chance to be part of this family. Asterisk. I stared at the message, thinking about trust, love, and what family truly meant. Then I typed back 3 words. Asterisk, see you in court. Asterisk. The courtroom was much smaller than I'd imagined. In my mind, it was a grand hall with towering ceilings and ornate wood panels, like something out of a movie. Instead, it was plain and functional, wooden benches, fluorescent lights buzzing faintly overhead. Across the room sat my parents, looking like they were dressed for one of their lake house parties. Mom wore the expensive dress she posted about on social media last week, and Dad had on his sharpest suit. Neither of them would meet my eyes. Their lawyer, James Wilson, was exactly what you'd expect. Gray suit, gray hair, gray demeanor. He tried to intimidate Patricia during pre-trial meetings, touting his decades of experience. Patricia, with her predator's smile, had simply said, wonderful. Let's see what 40 years can learn today. Judge Helen Martinez, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s, began by reviewing the evidence. I studied her face as she sifted through the documents, the original purchase agreement with my name on it, the fraudulent deed my parents filed, the bank statements showing where my inheritance had gone, and most damning, the social media posts. Those posts. Mom had stopped sharing updates once Patricia submitted them as evidence, but it was too late. Every boast about their sanctuary, every extravagant purchase, every party. All of it was now part of the official record. Mrs. Mitchell, Judge Martinez said, fixing Mom with a steely gaze, can you explain why you filed a deed excluding your daughter when she provided the entire purchase price for the property? Mom stood, smoothing her dress. Your Honor, we were only trying to protect our family's interests. Emma is young and impulsive. We were worried she might sell the property or make poor choices. Poor choices, the judge echoed. Like using a $200,000 equity line of credit to buy boats and furniture? Mom sat down abruptly. Dad tried to recover. Your Honor, everything we did was for our family's legacy. We only wanted to create. Mr. Mitchell, the judge interrupted. Are you familiar with the legal definition of fraud? The color drained from his face. Patricia didn't even need to present our case in full. The evidence spoke for itself. The judge lingered on one social media post in particular, the one about cutting out negative influences and understanding class. So, Judge Martinez said, her tone sharp, you used your daughter's inheritance to buy a property, fraudulently removed her name from the deed, took out loans against it, spent the money on luxuries, and then banned her from visiting while boasting about it online. Is that an accurate summary? The silence was deafening. James Wilson cleared his throat. Your Honor, my clients acknowledge some errors in judgment, but… Errors in judgment? Patricia stood, her voice razor-sharp. They committed fraud. They stole their daughter's inheritance, violated her trust, and flaunted it. This isn't poor judgment. It's criminal behavior. The judge nodded. I agree. Ms. Mitchell's petition to correct the deed is granted. I'm also referring this matter to the district attorney's office for potential criminal charges. Mom let out a small strangled cry. Dad dropped his head into his hands. Furthermore, Judge Martinez continued, the property deed will be transferred solely to Emma Mitchell. The home equity loan will remain the responsibility of David and Maureen Mitchell. You have 48 hours to vacate the premises. It was over. In the hallway afterward, Mom tried to approach me. Emma, sweetie, we can fix this. We're family. No, I said, cutting her off. Family doesn't steal. Grandma Rose taught me what family means, and this isn't it. Her sweet tone vanished. Your grandmother always played favorites. Is she just giving that money to me? She knew exactly what you'd do with it. I snapped. That's why she protected me. Dad stepped forward. Princess. Don't. I held up a hand. You have 48 hours to get your things out of my house. Anything left behind will be donated. I walked away, Patricia at my side. Behind us, Mom's cries sounded hollow like just another act. The next weekend, I drove up to the lake house, my lake house, for the first time in months. The security gate was gone, along with the no trespassing sign. Inside, my parents' things were cleared out, but they'd left a mess. Empty wine bottles, scuffed floors, water rings on furniture. Standing on the deck, overlooking the lake, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. Sadness for the parents I'd wished I had. Relief that this chapter was finally over, and something else. Peace. I spent the day cleaning, rearranging furniture, and opening windows to let in fresh air. In a drawer, I found one of Mom's designer scarves. I donated it along with everything else they'd left behind. That evening, I sat on the deck with a cup of tea, scrolling through old photos. One of Grandma Rose and me caught my eye. We were laughing in her garden, though I couldn't remember why. She would have loved this place, not for its luxury but for its serenity. The next day, I contacted a local charity that supports families with children battling cancer. They could use the house when I wasn't there, giving those families a chance to make joyful memories in tough times. Mom must have found out because she sent me a furious text. Asterisk, how dare you let strangers use our lake house? Asterisk. I blocked her number without replying. She was right about one thing. This wasn't what the house was meant for. It was meant for something better. A year has passed since the courtroom drama unfolded, and I've found a rhythm to my life that feels authentic for the first time in years. The lake house, my lake house, is no longer a symbol of betrayal or greed. It's become something far greater, a sanctuary for families who need it most. Watching it transform into a place of healing and joy has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. Last weekend, as I sat on the deck with a cup of tea, a little girl ran up to me, her face glowing with excitement. This is the happiest house ever, she exclaimed before darting off to chase butterflies by the water. Her laughter echoed across the property, mingling with the gentle lapping of the waves against the shore. I smiled, feeling an ache in my chest, not sadness but gratitude. This was what Grandma Rose would have wanted. Not luxury, not status, but purpose. The charity I partnered with sends families battling pediatric cancer to stay at the house during their treatment journeys. These families arrive exhausted, carrying burdens too heavy for anyone to bear alone. But here, surrounded by nature's beauty and supported by a community of volunteers, they find moments of peace. They bake cookies in the kitchen, build sandcastles on the beach, and sit together under the stars. For a brief time, they can forget about hospital visits and medical bills. I still remember the first family that came. A mother named Sarah and her 6-year-old son Liam. When they arrived, Sarah looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. Liam clung to her leg, his eyes wide with fear. By the end of their week, though, he was running barefoot through the grass, shouting, "Mom, look how fast I can go." Sarah hugged me tightly when they left, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "You gave us hope." Hope. That's what this place has become. A beacon of hope. And every time I see a child smile or hear a parent laugh, I think of Grandma Rose. She always said true wealth wasn't about possessions. It was about building something meaningful. Sitting there on the deck, watching the sun dip below the horizon, I raised my teacup in a silent toast. Asterisk to you, Grandma. You were right all along. Asterisk. Of course, letting go of the past hasn't been easy. There are still nights when I lie awake, replaying memories of my parents. Their promises, their betrayals, their excuses. But those thoughts don't sting as much anymore. Instead, they remind me of how far I've come. I've learned to separate the idea of family from the people who failed me. Family isn't about blood. It's about trust, love, and mutual respect. Those qualities can't be bought or inherited. They have to be earned. Every now and then, guilt creeps in. What if I had handled things differently? Could I have saved our relationship? But then I remember the way they dismissed me, the way they manipulated me, and the way they treated Grandma Rose's legacy like monopoly money. No amount of second-guessing changes the truth. They made their choices, and so did I. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means releasing the hold their actions once had over me. And slowly, day by day, I'm learning to do just that. The lake house itself has changed, too. I've stripped away the opulence my parents added. The gaudy chandeliers, the oversized furniture, the marble countertops, and replaced them with cozy, welcoming pieces. The walls are painted soft blues and greens, inspired by the colors of the lake. Books fill the shelves, many of them donated by friends and neighbors. On rainy days, guests gather in the living room to read or play board games. It's simple, but it's perfect. One of my favorite additions is the garden. Inspired by Grandma Rose, I planted rows of lavender, rosemary, and wildflowers. There's also a small vegetable patch where kids love to dig for carrots and snap peas. Last summer, I hosted a workshop teaching families how to make flower crowns and herbal sachets. As we work side by side, I realized something important. This house isn't just mine anymore. It belongs to everyone who steps inside and finds solace within its walls. Occasionally, I wonder what my parents are doing now. After losing the lawsuit, they sold their primary home to cover the equity loan and moved into a cramped apartment downtown. Mom stopped posting on social media altogether, and Dad took early retirement from teaching. Neither of them has reached out since I blocked their numbers. Part of me wonders if they regret their actions, if they miss me, or if they ever think about the granddaughter whose laughter might have brightened their lives. But mostly, I've accepted that their choices define them, not me. Instead, I focus on the future. I recently started volunteering at a local mentoring program for teenagers, helping them navigate college applications and career goals. One of the students, Mia, reminds me so much of myself at her age. Eager but uncertain, full of dreams but afraid to take risks. When she confided in me about her fears of disappointing her parents, I shared Grandma Rose's advice. Asterisk, true wealth isn't about what you own. It's about what you build. Asterisk, her eyes lit up, and for the first time, she seemed to believe she could create her own path. As I reflect on everything that's happened, I realize this journey has taught me more than I ever imagined. I've learned the value of standing up for myself, even when it's painful. I've discovered the power of forgiveness, not for others but for my own peace of mind. And most importantly, I've embraced the idea that wealth isn't measured in dollars or property deeds. It's measured in the connections we forge, the kindness we extend, and the impact we leave behind. Looking out over the lake, I feel a deep sense of contentment. The water sparkles in the sunlight, reflecting the sky's endless blue. Somewhere I know Grandma Rose is smiling. She believed in me when I doubted myself, and she trusted me to carry forward her vision of a better world. Now, standing here, I finally understand what she meant. True wealth isn't about owning things. It's about creating spaces where love, laughter, and hope can flourish. And that's exactly what I'm doing.